Right now, there's a clock within arm's reach of you. Phone, wall, microwave, your wrist. You haven't had to wonder what time it is for more than a few seconds in your entire adult life. And yet, for almost all of human history, that question had no answer. Not a slow answer, no answer at all. No number existed to check. Still, people built pyramids, planted crops on schedule, and sailed across open ocean with zero clocks anywhere on Earth. So how? Turns out the answer isn't just clever. It kind of breaks how you think about time. Start with the clock nobody thinks of as a clock, the sun. The Egyptians split daylight into 12 chunks using gnomons, just poles stuck in the ground. The shadow swept across marked stones like a hand sweeping a face. Here's the weird part, though. Because they divided daylight into 12 equal pieces no matter the season, an hour in June ran almost twice as long as an hour in December. Time stretched, time shrank. Nobody thought that was strange because nobody had ever known it any other way. The Greeks took this system. The Romans took it too. It survived for literally thousands of years. Medieval monasteries ran their entire day, prayer, work, sleep, around these unequal hours. A monk's hour of labor in July might stretch past an hour. In January, it could shrink to under 45 minutes. An entire society organizing itself around time that bent depending on the sun's mood that day. We'd hate that. They never knew anything else. But the sun checks out for half the day. So what about the dark? Stars. Egyptian priests tracked what they called deacons, specific stars rising at set intervals through the night, marking time the way hands sweep across a clock face now. They mapped the whole sky just to know when to run nighttime rituals. Polynesian navigators took it further still. They memorized exactly where certain stars sat at certain times of year, building a mental chart so precise they could cross thousands of miles of open Pacific and know, almost down to the hour, how much night had passed and how far they'd actually traveled. Then there's a method basically nobody remembers anymore: water. The Greeks called it the clepsydra, the water thief. A jar with a small hole, water dripping out at a steady pace, time measured by how much had drained away. Athenian courts used these to time speeches and trial. When the water ran dry, you stopped talking. Didn't matter what you were mid-sentence on. Imagine your entire legal argument cut off by gravity and a hole in some clay. The Chinese took the concept and built towers out of it. Cascading bronze vessels, gears, the works. By 1090 AD, a water-driven clock tower in Kaifeng was tracking hours, days, even lunar cycles automatically. Centuries before Europe came close. Fire told time too, and there's something almost beautiful about it. Medieval England and China both burned graduated candles and incense sticks marked with lines or knots, built to burn down at a known rate. Song dynasty officials used knotted incense to time government meetings. Some candles even had metal balls pressed into the wax at intervals. Wax melts down, ball drops into a metal tray, clang, an alarm clock made of fire and gravity, centuries before anyone had electricity. But here's what's actually fascinating. None of this mattered much for ordinary people's daily lives. Because for most of human history, you didn't need to know the time. You needed to know the task. Farmers didn't wake up at 6 a.m. They woke up when the rooster screamed or when light hit the wall of the hut. Medieval days for regular people weren't carved into hours at all. They were carved into events. Cock's crow, first light, midday meal, evening milking, dusk. Time wasn't a number. It was a sequence you'd memorize, like a song you know by heart, without ever learning to read a single note of it. This is where it gets genuinely strange for us. Anthropologists studying surviving hunter-gatherer groups in the 20th century, the Hadza in Tanzania for instance, found something almost unthinkable to a modern brain. Many had no word for hour, none, and felt zero anxiety about that gap. Their days ran on hunger, light, and the movement of animals they were tracking. Researchers who lived among them for weeks described a kind of phantom panic at first, an itch to check a watch that didn't exist. And then, within weeks, that anxiety just dissolved. Their bodies fell into a rhythm built on tasks, not minutes. The same rhythm every human ancestor lived inside for nearly the whole span of our species. So what actually changed? Bells, church bells specifically. Starting around the 1300s, mechanical clocks started showing up in European town towers. Not to help one person manage their day, but to sync an entire town to a single shared signal. The bell rang, and hundreds of people understood the exact same abstract unit of time at the exact same moment. That had never happened in human history before. Time stopped being personal. Sunrise, hunger, dusk, and became external, synchronized. A number handed down from outside that applied to you whether your body agreed with it or not. And historians trace a direct line from there to the factories of the 1700s and 1800s, where workers got paid for hours occupied, not tasks finished. An idea that would have made zero sense to a Roman farmer or to a monk in a snowy monastery. Time became something you sold by the hour. Clocks left the church towers, dropped into pockets, climbed onto wrists, and eventually crawled into the device sitting in your hand right now. Checked dozens of times a day, half of which you don't even register doing. And that's the part that should actually stop you for a second. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors lived inside a kind of time that breathed. It stretched in summer. It shrank in winter. It got measured in shadows and starlight, in dripping water and burning wax. Governed by tasks, not numbers. The anxious second-by-second time awareness most of us drag around all day isn't how humans are built. It's barely 150 years old. That Hadza man with no word for hour isn't missing something we have. We're the ones who lost something he still has. So next time you catch yourself checking the clock for the 5th time in 10 minutes, know that urge isn't human nature. It's a habit your species invented less than 2 centuries ago. And it replaced something a lot older. A sense of time built on sunlight, on hunger, on the rhythm of a world that never once needed a number to keep moving.